thought Nino said, I thought Nino then said, she fine.
Alright, I'm in the championship. Who am I going against? Me. How people be sleeping in class. How I sleep. Driver, sun's in your eyes. Can you pull this thing down? Just work so well. Kobe Bryant, this is for you.
Then ended up getting
Chocolate syrup, please. Gotcha, man.
basically show squads because the team is out there to be shown. All right, so bro, that's pretty crazy, Caleb. But the question is, can you? Man, if you guys are new to the channel, please be sure to smash the subscribe button, smash that like button. Without further ado, let's just right into the game. Let's get it. So where you landing at? Where you landing at? What you feeling, dog? Let's just start. Oh my goodness.
You like that, baby?
It's looking like a war right there, man. Let me see, dog. Yeah. Government? Okay, my government man, but continue to ears, bro. Oh my goodness, I'm like a beast. He said he was going for a trick shot. I knew he was gonna hit it. I just knew it. That's not you, bro. You don't trick shot like that.
We're having a party.
He tried to go to the corner. He was on timeout, man. Why you have to do it like that? What does he think he doing? Oh, yeah. Ooh, nice edit. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, so now you guys gotta like and subscribe right now.
Oh, my goodness. You think you just earned a subscription, bro? Guys, make sure to subscribe just for this W, man. Make sure to smash that like button. Okay, that was insane. You're crazy, bro. I think you actually did get better, man. Oh, my gosh. This is crazy on stage, guys. If you guys would like to go...
Should I have more back on here? You like that? Oh, wow. Is it cold?
Bam, bam, bop, bam, bam. That's it.
Ready? Here we go.
Step on the wall. Boy, oh!
There you go. Say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Charlie, are you eating pizza? Is it good? Would you like a bite of my vegetables?
that make it to the NBA come from all across the world, and everyone has different backgrounds and different stories for how they made it to the league. Some have had an easy path, and some have been lucky to even make it to this point alive. So we're going to look at the 10 greatest against all odds stories in the NBA today. The players that shouldn't have made it to this point, that shouldn't have been able to do what they have, but through hard work and dedication, turn their bad situations around into some of the greatest stories we've ever seen. Starting with number 1, Jimmy Butler. From start to finish, Jimmy's got one of the most compelling stories in the league. And here's why. Because almost as soon as Jimmy was born, his dad abandoned his family, which left him with a single mom. And that didn't last too long because when he was 13 years old, his mom told him, "I don't like the look of you, you gotta go," and kicked him out of the house. So he bounced around different friends' houses and foster homes, hoping to have a place to stay every night. And it took him all the way up until the summer before his senior year of kicked him out of the house. So he bounced around different friends' houses and foster homes, hoping to have a place to stay every night. And it took him all the way up until the you gotta go, and kicked him out of the house. So he bounced around different friends' houses and foster homes, hoping to have a place to 13 years old, his mom told him, "I don't like the look of you, you gotta go," and kicked him out of the house. So he bounced around different friends' houses and foster homes, hoping to have a place to stay every night. And it took him all the way up until the summer before his senior year of high school to find an actual home to stay at every night, when he moved in with a freshman on the basketball team, Jordan Leslie. Leslie's mom already had 6 kids living in her home, but they quickly accepted Jimmy into the family. And through all of this, sports and basketball specifically were the thing that kept him going. By his senior year of high school, he was averaging 20 points and 8 rebounds a game and was his team's captain and later voted his team's MVP, but still wasn't heavily recruited. So he ended up going to Tyler Junior College, where he played one season, averaging 18, 7, and 3, but was still only named a 2-star recruit. But it was enough for him to start gaining interest from D1 schools. And he eventually got an athletic scholarship to Marquette, where he started out slow, averaging 5 and 3 as a sophomore, but through being one of the hardest working players in college basketball, his game developed every year. The next season he would put up 14 and 6, and then as a senior averaged 15 and 6, including hitting 2 game winners and helped his team to the NCAA tournament, which attracted the
Invisalign clear aligners are made with smart track material to precisely move your teeth up to 2 times faster.
the Chicago Bulls to selecting him 30th overall in the 2011 NBA draft. And the same thing happened. He started out slow, averaging only 2 points a game as a bench player in his rookie season, but developed his game every single year, and by his 4th year in the league, he made it clear that he was a star player, putting up over 20 points a game and making the All-Star team as a member of the Chicago Bulls. And today, he continues living up to the reputation as being one of the best two-way players in the league. And all of this has made his story be described as one of the most remarkable in the history of the league. Number 2, Steph Curry. You might not have been expecting to see a player on this list whose dad played in the NBA. And Steph's story isn't as intense as some of the rest of these, but it's still worth mentioning, because he definitely has one of the better underdog stories. But that really didn't start for him until he was in high school, because as early as middle school, his shot and his handles were already so good that one day his coach saw him warming up for a game and asked him if he could teach him some of those moves so he can use them in his men's league later that night. And because Curry was so good, so young, he was leading his middle school team to beating everyone by 40 or 50 a night, so his coach started to make his team play high school teams instead, and they won a lot of those games too thanks to Steph. And this same insane level of skill translated over to high school basketball right away. Former NBA player Anthony Morrow grew up near Steph Curry, so they played a lot of high school games against each other. And Morrow said that he was just as skilled then as he is now, and that every school had the same game plan for him, which was to swarm Curry the second that he passed half court. Because if you didn't, it was over. So the skill for Curry was always there, who would go on to be named All-Conference, All-State, and lead his team to 3 state playoff appearances. But no matter how great he was still said to have looked like a 14-year-old as a senior that stood 6 foot tall, was 160 pounds, and wasn't the best athlete. So scouts still said he was too small, which meant that he was only a 3-star recruit, and the big universities across the nation all passed on Steph Curry. So he ended up going to Davidson, where he instantly put together some of the greatest scoring and shooting performances in the history of college basketball, averaging 25 points a game for his 3 years there, and 28 and 5 as a senior, which led to him proving that even though he was small and not the most athletic, he was still capable of playing the game at any level, and was still taken 7th overall in the 2009 NBA draft, when nobody
What?
believed in him except a few select people. He believed in himself and proved them all wrong. And is still proving everyone wrong today, having been the 2-time MVP and becoming the greatest shooter of all time. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Greek freak grew up in Athens, Greece. Shocker. But his family was poor, so as a young kid, he spent a lot of his time walking around the streets trying to sell watches and sunglasses just to help his family buy food that day. In his free time though, he loved to play soccer with his brothers. And one day when he was 13, a basketball coach of one of the local clubs in Greece spotted him and invited him to play on the team. And the coach saw huge potential in him right away, because he told Giannis that